Hocam isterseniz ekranda ben açtım. Ben yönetebilirim buradan.
Fakat
Ekranda görüyorsanız isterseniz bu şekilde devam edelim.
Ekranda çok küçük görüyorum. Siz beni görüyor musunuz bu arada? Yani benim ekranım farklı galiba.
Evet.
Aysun Hocam.
Efendim?
Aysun Hocam biraz ekran kameranız yukarıda kalıyor.
Şimdi oldu mu?
Evet,
Ben
şu an
hiç
daha iyi.
göremiyorum.
Evet, şimdi daha güzel hocam. Evet, şimdi iyi hocam.
Ben ekranımda hiçbir şey göremiyorum. Neyse çıktısını almışım.
Şu anda gayet iyi görünüyorsunuz hocam. Melike hocam, isterseniz sunum yetkisini Aysun hocama verebilirsiniz.
Ben ama açamıyorum ekranımda. Bir sıkıntı var. Yani büyütemiyorum.
Ben şu an Aysun hocam bana göndermişti. Onun sunumunu aslında açtım. Şu an ekranda görünüyor.
Şu anda görünüyor hocam.
Evet. İsterseniz siz başlayın hocam. Ben buradan yöneteyim.
Tamam ama ben bütün şeyi kaybettim. Yani açılmıyor. Hiçbir şey görmüyorum ben.
Şu an ana sayfadan
Tamam, ben kendi sayfamdan
tamam.
bakayım. Önemli olan sizin beni duymanız ve görmeniz.
Evet hocam.
Daha fazla vakit kaybetmeyeyim. Sonra stres olunca iyice şey oldum.
Hiç sorun değil hocam.
Diye. Evet, o zaman başlıyorum. Çok teşekkür ediyorum öncelikle. Daha sonra şimdi hemen geçeceğim. Mehmet hocam size çok teşekkür ediyorum. Gülbü hocam size çok teşekkür ediyorum. Sevgili Melike ve Gözde çok teşekkürler. İyi ki varsınız. Size bu imkanı sunabildiniz.
Teşekkür ederiz.
Well, so viewing the language and gender relationship through pragmatic and discoursal lenses. So I'm going to speak in English and hopefully you can follow me. Well, I would like to start with what is pragmatics, because I thought that this is an interdisciplinary area, so I thought that it would be better to kind of talk about the initial ideas. So the pragmatics is concerned with the interpretation of linguistic meaning in context, right? So the factors in the context governing our choices in the social or within the social interaction and the effects of our choices on others are so important regarding the intended meaning and the purpose and the rules of conversation. So such as, for example, the biological factors, the age and gender, social relationships, and the other contextual issues such as the profile of the speakers and so on. And the next slide, yes, speech axon, which actually highlights with the pragmatics and choice of the speech axon, so important, both regarding the context and of course the gender issues. Speech axon are used to describe actions such as requesting, commanding, questioning, or informing, right? So, for example, action performed by a speaker with an utterance such as "I'll be there at 6," right, would be a speech act of promising. Okay, so as an example, and we have two kinds of, in general, speech acts. The first one is a direct speech act, which is actually about referring, informing, telling, and reporting, such as asking or saying direct questions and utterances such as "Did you eat the pizza? Can you ride a bicycle?" and so on. An indirect speech act, however, when there is no match between the syntactic feature or syntactic structure and the function. So, for example, you can see the examples there. Can you pass the salt? Do you have time? Do you know where the post office is? So, in fact, I mean, they're not about the abilities about however they are requesting, but they are questions in the format of question. But in fact, it's kind of a word. It's not the ability, but it's the requesting. So the function and the context do not match. So the politeness is another issue in the pragmatics, which is also related with, or can be related with, gender issues. When we talk about or think about politeness, we need to think about face issues, so which is about our public image, emotional and social sense of self, which we just need to recognize, okay, and respect all the time. Face-threatening act would be threat to person's self-image. So, for example, if I say, "Give me the paper," instead of saying, "Can you pass me the paper?" So, which would be a face-threatening act, okay? And it would be a direct speech act. But however, face-saving act is highly related with the use of indirect speech act, so lessens the threat to another person's face, right? Okay, so that is why while the usage is so important, the contextual factors are so important, and of course the gender issues are so important. Well, when we talk about the discourse analysis, language and text and conversation, we can say, and it's about interpreting discourse, right? The speech events are, well, debates and interviews and various types of discussions that we actually engage in every day, in many times, in different times. And we just need to actually think about our speaker and hearer roles and relationships and responsibilities as well, such as, are we friends, for example? Are we strangers, men and women? So the gender issues are important. Well, young, adult, old stages, biological factors and cultural factors, and there are many more. So how it is said is much more important than what it is said most of the times. So hedges are also related with discourse analysis. Well, how do we define? Because you might be unfamiliar with the words, so that is why I have a short definition. Words or phrases used to indicate that speakers are not really sure about what they are saying are the hedges. So as far as I know, for example, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not sure about, as far as I remember, his hair was kind of long, and so we have them in Turkish as well, right? And generally, of course, I can't generalize, but I mean, hedges are generally, or more frequently used by women, right? So, which is an important factor regarding the language and gender relationship. So, when we have a look at it again more closely, well, language and gender issues, so we can talk about biological or natural gender, which is about being male or female, I mean biologically male or female, right? So if you have a look at the sentence, my screen is so small, so I'm just following from my my prints actually. Katie loves her mom. So Katie is a female person, and you can see her, who's actually a pronoun, and referring back to Katie, right? So you can see the natural gender relationship because Katie is female, right? And the pronoun is female or feminine. When we talk about grammatical gender, so we can talk about feminine, masculine, and neutral issues, or neutrality issues. But these are grammatical issues. So regardless of the being biologically female or male, some entities in some languages such as German and French and Spanish, so they have articles, right? So such as the Sonne, the Mond, and das Feuer, and so on. So the entities have their articles, feminine or masculine, or neutral ones, which is about the structure of the particular language, right? And we can also talk about social gender, which is about our social roles. And if we want to make changes, perhaps we just need to perhaps focus on more social issues rather than the structure of the language, right? Well, we can also talk about linguistic and grammatical classification. So there are many classifications regarding different languages. So, for example, in Swahili, which is an African language, so they have humans and non-humans and aspects differences as classification. In one of the Australian Aboriginal languages, they have this female and male classification, which is actually an interesting one. So men, kangaroos, and boomerangs are under the category of male, and women and fire and dangerous things are under the category of female, which is actually an interesting one, right? Okay. And for example, objects are defined as thin and flat and round in Japanese, which is another classification. So we can also talk about, well, social categories like kinship systems, like brothers and sisters and mother and father and so on. Cognitive categories and belief systems, and well, we can add here the notion of time, for example, so tenses in English, for example. And we can also talk about gendered words. or gendered languages such as Japanese, such as Sidamo, which is an African language, in Ethiopia, one of the African languages. So there are some words and usages used by only men or women. So it depends on the speaker. So if you're a male, you have to use the other version, and if you're a female, just need to use another version, and so on. Right. Well, regarding the sexist vocabulary, right? So we're also working on that kind of issues in Turkish as well. So man, mankind, for example, and there are some addings, like kind of underlying being male or female, right? So if you have a look at the examples, like female judge and madam chairman, and women executive, lady doctor, and cleaning lady, and so on. So we have some sort of emphasis on the lady or madam or women issues. So interesting one, because I can say that, so these jobs are, I mean, especially being judge and chairperson, lady doctor, or whatever, I mean, they are mostly associated with males rather than females. So there are some examples of sexist vocabulary, like an actor, actress, and waiter, waitress. The chairman is an important one. So, well, of course, so that is why we're kind of trying to use chairperson rather than chairman, or chair or moderator. And scienceman, right, and science person, and fireman, firefighter, and police officer rather than policeman, because why these jobs roles are also perceived by females as well. When we have a look at the gender and the language relationship, of course, you can't generalize. I can't generalize, but this is actually take up from some data. But of course, I mean, you can't generalize. It depends on the education, depends on the region, depends on many factors, actually. But we can see that women are using more rising, falling intonation when they speak. And they use tag questions most of the times. When I say tag question, it means at the end of the sentence, so for example, it is raining, isn't it, doesn't it, is it, does it, kind of stuff. So it's kind of an adding at the very end, so trying to make sure that you are following the other and you have this, you know, shared knowledge about the action. Indirect speech acts and indirect speech are used more frequently. At the very beginning of the session, I thought about the direct and indirect speech act. So generally indirect speech acts are used by women. So that is why they are kind of using, and they are, I mean, using more face-saving acts. So we say, we don't really say, give me the paper, but please, can you give me the paper, and so on. Move and gestures are used by females more frequently. Colors are kind of, I mean, the color choices or definitions are different, such as, I mean, complex, or I mean, kind of more variety of colors are defined by women, like mauve and beige and aquamarine and so on. Well, some adjectives are used more frequently by women, like adorable, charming, lovely, and sweet, and so on. Well, visited topics are different, such as social life and books and domestic issues and so on. And females use we and you more frequently, and share and discuss more frequently, seek reassurance more frequently, and use back channels like, yeah, really, huh? Oh, okay, and so on. So which actually shows that we are following the others when we are communicating. And females use more hedges. So as I already told you, kind of, I mean, it's kind of and sort of and that kind of blurred definitions. However, men explain things and I mean, would patronize more and ignore more and look for solutions is actually a good thing most of the time. So give advice and interrupt more. Use more frequently direct speech acts, and so therefore face-threatening acts is kind of chosen by them. Assertive and strong and slang languages are mostly associated with males rather than females. So we see the topics are different, such as some business and legal matters and sports and politics and so on. So we can talk about some potential reasons. Of course, there are many reasons, which is actually about social gender. So what we can perhaps see impact would be on the social gender rather than the grammatical gender or natural gender. The social gender is our issue. So perhaps, I mean, some of the potential reasons would be from the very beginning the pink and blue issue. So we have divisions, right? From the Western point of view, rather, because this is my area, so sexist Roman and Greek mythology, right? Zeus, Athena, and Hera, so the gods and goddesses have their distinctive roles. And have a look at Zeus, he's the king of the gods and goddesses. So again, we have a male, not person, but figure, I would say. But think about fairy tales, the kind of the famous ones like Snow White and Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella. So you can see, well, although they are the heroines, but in fact, I mean, they're kind of anti-heroines, and they're rather passive, waiting for the prince and waiting for something to happen and so on, right? Have a look at superpowers, right? Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, this man and that man, right? So, which is actually kind of a mental construct for, especially for children.
Biraz daha hızlandırabilir miyiz? Aysun hocam.
Okay, I'm finishing actually. Well, thank you. The movies and serials, we have actually the social roles, and have a look at James Bond and kind of what colorful about Womanizer. So advertisements are about what sexy women introducing some products which are irrelevant. So the reasons would be again harem and well, Orientalism, narration of story, history and literature. God, sky, and heavens are masculine, right? Earth and productivity and are feminine, which is fine, but it's kind of limiting. Diverse roles and responsibilities we can talk about, and notions associated with females generally. If you have a look at even the Western culture and Western literature, crying, object of love, and domestic issues, and so on. So the politics, administrative issues, and higher status jobs are generally associated with males. So what can be done? This is not, last one anyway. So we just need to reconsider language and culture and literature issues again. So we just need to reformat them. Roles and responsibilities in society, we just need to reformat and reconstruct them. Bringing up boys and girls differently will be another issue. Metaphors and imageries and mental constructs, okay? Just comparing cultural and universal issues such as love, goodness, and evil, and regardless of the gender difference, they can be, or they should be kind of like neutral rather. And we just need to foster men and women interaction in cooperation. Now think about school times, universities and school children. So we have to have more activities and teamwork about which is actually fostering that kind of cooperation. And thank you very much.
Biz çok teşekkür ederiz hocam. Gerçekten çok verimli bir sunum. Dilin aslında cinsiyet üzerine ne kadar etkisi olduğunu, yani alışmışız aslında, fark etmiyoruz ama siz sununca gerçekten hani cinsiyete ne kadar etkili olduğunu görmüş olduk. Teşekkür ediyoruz. Aysun hocamıza sorusu olan var mı acaba arkadaşlar ya da hocalarım? Yoksa diğer bildiriye geçelim. Sanırım yok hocam. Çok teşekkür ederiz tekrar.
Çok teşekkür ederim.
İkinci bildirimizi sunacak Seda Dülcek burada mı acaba?